Bonjour madame, comment ça va?
Très bien.
Mario, comment ça va?
Ouais, ça va bien.
Oui, ça va très très bien. Oh, elle me dit.
So, yes. We have many friends with us today, Denise. We have some messages for the Government of Canada that we'd like to leave for Lauzon. We understand he's probably not in the office today. I'm assuming that. So, do you think it might be possible for you to get him on the phone, that we could have a conversation
We'll
with him?
see who's available unless we'll see we're in.
I'll come back, guys.
Okay, yeah.
About 30. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Bye.
Hey, Kaylee. Not bad, you?
Is he available?
Okay.
He is, eh?
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Well, what we propose is this. We'd like to address our concerns about the pension announcement that the Prime Minister made in Switzerland to you and to each other, because we want to discuss them and throw some ideas around. And then we intend to leave some written material for Guy. You'll give it to him. And we hope that he'll bring it up with the government. And in order to impress upon the importance of and the urgency of this issue, we are going to occupy your office for a space of time this afternoon.
Okay.
So, good. Thank you.
That's fine.
Thank you for making us welcome. Well, I'll read a text first for everybody,
Okay.
then I'll leave it with you.
Okay, c'est bon.
As you know, the Prime Minister was in Switzerland at a meeting of the richest financial elites in the world, an international meeting in Davos, and there he announced that he thought that we'd soon be delaying the onset of OAS, that it was a program that we couldn't afford. And I have to tell you that we were all intensely concerned immediately, and 74% of Canadians have registered the same strength of concern, strong disapproval for this program, that we just don't want OAS to be delayed for 2 years. We feel it's a step backward. So there are three main reasons why we're concerned with this. The first one is where and how the Prime Minister made this announcement. He almost made it like an off-the-cuff comment in a setting that we don't think is appropriate when you're discussing one of the fundamental bedrock security programs for Canadians. It wasn't even in a government legislative setting. It was at a business meeting, and it was on a continent where countries have mismanaged their public spending for so many years, and now they're paying the price. And we don't feel that's an appropriate context to talk about our public funding, because we haven't been mismanaging our program. We feel this program is a fully funded, conscientiously, responsibly administered program, and so to discuss it in that context in Europe is just inappropriate. And it alarms us with regard to all our social programs because of that. And of course the second reason is something so important we think should have been brought up in Parliament. Because if you're going to change a basic program like this, what you do is you start with a position paper, you go to a green paper, you go to a white paper, and you have all the opposition parties looking at it. People massage the policy, see if maybe there's another way to fix it other than just withholding it from people. And that's the way, in a responsible democratic process, we expect policies to be struck. So we think this is an affront to our political process. And I guess maybe the main reason why the process really insults us is we just had a federal election 9 or 10 months ago, depending on whether you count the month of May. This was not brought up, I don't think. Mario, you ran. Were you arguing OAS and GIS, the social programs?
Not at all. That was a surprise. That was a shock for all of us today. I mean, 1/3 of the population could afford the RSP, and 2/3 of our population, Canadian population, they don't have access to pension plan. So that's why the old age security is so much an issue. And as Elaine says, it's so unfortunate that that was not brought to the table. This is our democracy. We have all at heart, and this is not fair. If let's say it would have been discussed during the election, then we would have been more willing to. The solution to this issue is expand the Canada pension plan now, not attacking the poorest people in our country.
Yes.
We, the people, will remember you.
Yeah. You see, when a government runs, obviously they are elected on the strength of the promises they make, and this government was elected on promises it made. And we anticipate for the next 4 years, we're going to live with the working out of the policies that will come from those promises. But this one was not on the table. So we think that's really an abuse of the position they gained at that election as a majority government to bring up something so fundamental. This can't be just an afterthought. So we don't know what it says for our whole democratic process is something like this could come up at kind of a last minute, off the cuff remark. And then secondly, we feel that the Prime Minister's remarks are actually duplicitous, certainly erroneous. Everybody who has looked at this issue is saying, no, this is a program that has been costed. The actuaries have done the math, the money is there, and the program is not in jeopardy. Now, we don't know if the Prime Minister was being duplicitous or if he's simply being wrong. But even the parliamentary budget officer, Kevin Page, has said there's money there. In fact, Kevin Page has said there's enough money in that program that the government could increase the payments. And for heaven's sake, I think there's great need that they would do that. And he said if they don't increase the payments, they could actually end the deficit sooner than their target year of 2017. So for the Prime Minister to insinuate that there isn't money to run this program is just wrong, and it's alarmed people. We know that the baby boomer generation has hit, and we are going to soak up a lot of resources in the system for about 20 years. But unfortunately, we're not going to live forever, as we know. And then after we pass through the system, the cost to the system is going to decrease dramatically. Like right now, the cost of OAS as a percentage of our GDP is 2%. At its height, it's going to go up to 3.2%. And then it's going to subside to 1.8%. So really, as a few journalists have said, I have to take a little exception to this analogy, but they said it's like a pig in a python. It's a great big bulge while we're there in the system, but we're on our way through. So it's a needlessly alarming suggestion that the Prime Minister made, and we don't think it's fair that he introduces that sort of notion into what should be a very serious argument. And right now we acknowledge our economy is struggling, but it's not going to all the time. Our economy and our GDP will pick up. But with OAS and every other program, there has to be a political will to sustain them. We feel that governments don't just run out of money. Governments make decisions about what their priorities are. And we're afraid that this was a signal on Stephen Harper's part that this is not one of his priorities. This government is shrinking our resources by giving out massive corporate tax cuts and then saying, on the other hand, that they can't afford programs. So we think that the real challenges to the Canadian budget aren't the baby boomers. We're not the problem. We think the problem is the misguided spending of the Conservative government. And we suggest the government look at that closely. Like, for example, on April 6, 2011, the Globe and Mail stated that businesses have added $83 billion to their cash reserves through corporate tax cuts since the recession started in 2008. And in the face of that evidence, that not only had they stockpiled that money, they didn't use it for job creation, they didn't use it for upgrades and that sort of thing, they simply stockpiled it, and still in the face of that, Finance Minister Jim Flaherty reduced the corporate tax rate on January 1st, 2012 from 18% to 15%. So this is where we feel the government is misguided. So I'll give you my third reason now. Most of us have a connection to labor here. We're all working people. We're labor activists. We're community activists. And we feel that we're at a turning point in our history. I'm the president of the Crumlin District Labor Council. Many of us are union members. And union members have always fought. Hi, George. Hi. We started without you. Union members have always fought for strong public services. We feel that since World War II, it's been strong public services that have been responsible with creating and supporting the Canadian middle class. Now, in 1980, in the early 80s, that changed. Three processes came into vogue: globalization, deregulation, privatization, along with the deunionization of the workforce, and all of those factors have been reversing the trend. In place of growing equalization and redistribution of wealth, we have increasing disparity. The richest Canadians are getting phenomenally richer, but the middle class is being eroded, and the poor are dropping totally off the scale. This works against social cohesion and stability, which are hallmarks of happy and healthy communities. And to delay the OAS specifically to the age of 67 would hurt the most vulnerable Canadians. Currently, 35 to 40% of those who receive OAS, which is $540 a month, which is adjusted quarterly, because people who receive OAS, they're usually living close to the bone, and waiting a year for your increment is a hardship. 35 to 40% of people who receive OAS also receive the guaranteed income supplement. See, OAS is meant to supplement your retirement income. If you have none, then you can also get the GIS. But even with those two programs, most senior Canadians who are retired are living on less than $25,000 a year. Now, to push that back for 2 years, we feel will penalize seniors, obviously, and it will penalize women overwhelmingly, because women have had less access and activity and engagement in the workforce, and so they don't have CPP as an additional cushion there, so they will be extremely hard-pressed among the senior group if this policy goes through. So, you know, people often say, well, we're living longer now than when the OAS was instituted. We're living longer, but our nation is a rich nation. I don't think anybody here is saying freedom 55 and that's our goal, but I think we're certainly saying freedom 65 we're willing to fight for, and we want Guy Lauzon to take that message to the Prime Minister in the strongest possible terms, and we'll leave a message to that effect. So now there may be others, Denise, who'd like to contribute something, and I invite my colleagues to do so.
Thank you very much, and I will bring your concern to you.
Well, thank you, Denise.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you very much for coming in, and I will bring your concern to Guy.
Okay.
Guy would like to have some suggestion. He's always more than open for suggestion. So, and we do have here an email, and he always read people concern, and you should send your concern to info@guylauzon.ca, and he will read it. Okay?
Okay.
Merci.
No, okay, well, we're going to stay for a while.
Yeah,
I just want to say,
actually-
go ahead, Deborah.
No, I just wanted to, I want to make an appointment to
Yes.
see him, actually.
On what issue? On this issue?
Actually, I've got a number of issues. I get his
Okay.
readouts in the mail, and he's communicated again. I tore this out of the...
Okay, so once it's all of this is finished, come on over and we'll make an appointment.
Yeah.
You will have to tell us on what issue.
Oh,
and
I've got...
we're going to make an appointment for you, no problem.
Great, super.
Okay?
I just need to get behind.
Okay, c'est bon?
See, yes, but I think something really important is that we're not just here objecting. Yes, we're not just protesters. We've come to contribute some solutions too. Like if there's a problem with finances.
Yes, and he is open for solution.
Well, we
guarantee it, he is open for opinions and also what people are thinking. Really, he's open-minded, and if you have a solution, please bring it. But send it to info@guylauzon.ca so he can see it, review it, and figure it out. He's the one that represents anybody. It doesn't matter which party, he represents everybody in this is in the region, and he needs to have it, you know, something to bring up to Parliament Hill.
Well, perhaps if he were to look at, and maybe the Prime Minister were to look at, the economies that have done well in the world, Scandinavia and even Germany, and they have a much more egalitarian society. The ratio of chief executive officer to average pay isn't 400 or 500 as it is in our country. It's much closer than that. That improves their economy, because when there is a bigger middle class, a bigger class with more money, then they're able to spend. But if you're a totally wealthy person with billions of dollars, the amounts you spend
Bring your opinion.
is very
Just
small.
email it.
This is very critical. You know, with that message, he really needs to think about it.
Okay?
Yeah, and I think we should maybe even share with each other some of the ideas we have. Like